Good day. Thank you for tuning in to this 2017 Primary Election Candidate Forum for Olympia City Council Position 6. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and Thurston Community Media, also known as TCM. The League is a nonprofit organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties. We are nonpartisan. The League registers new voters, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with governing bodies. Despite its name, the League is open to both men and women of age 16 and up. I'm Elliot Weinstein from the League, and I will be moderating this forum. The candidates for Olympia City Council Position 6 are Jeannine Roe, Renata Rollins, and Michael Snodgrass. For this forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then I'll ask them questions in alternating order. The person first asked the question will have 2 minutes for a response, followed by 1 minute from the other candidates. There will be 1 minute for closing statements at the end. We'll begin with opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Michael Snodgrass.
Thank you for allowing me to participate in this event. I'm very excited to be able to present my ideas and thoughts on a variety of issues in the Olympia city limits. My name is Michael Snodgrass. I recently left 24 years of teaching out in Yelm Community Schools, where I thoroughly enjoyed that experience. And I come here today because of a student. The first day of class every year, I used to tell my students to take a shot at the title, and that meant to them to find their passion and to follow it no matter what, and that I would be their advocate for that. Having taught civics and government for many years and been active politically for over 30 years, I was lamenting last June during lunch about the hyper-partisanship and some of the struggles our government and our political parties are having currently. And after I paused, one of my more creative and interesting young men looked at me and said, "Mr. Snodgrass, take a shot at the title." And for the first time in 24 years, I was speechless, and all the students laughed. And that's when I decided to become a candidate, the one thing in politics I had never done. And I've done more studying than I've ever done since college about the issues involved in the Olympia area. And I think it's time, the main thing that I bring, I believe, to this race is action. The city of Olympia has done an amazing job of studying a variety of issues. I've read 3 studies on the homeless issue, and there's a wealth of information and ideas out there. And I think the time for action is now, and my record as a union leader, as a teacher, as a coach, as an official, as a leader of or president of a nonprofit has shown that when I get involved in something, actions do occur. And so thank you very much for this opportunity again, and I look forward to this forum. Thank you.
We will now proceed with Jeannine. Opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this forum today. People ask me, why on earth would you decide to run for city council again? The answer is simple. I love Olympia, and I have truly enjoyed working on the council for the past 8 years. I have lived in Olympia since the age of 4. I attended Olympia Public Schools, and as a single mother, I have raised 2 daughters here. My parents still live less than a block away in the home that I was raised in. I worked for many years in the Washington State Senate, and currently I'm working as a realtor. Over the years, I have to say one of the nicest compliments that I receive from citizens is they thank me for being a council member that has common sense, compassion, is reliable, dependable, and a responsible leader, who recognize the need for us to change, adapt, and grow. Our downtown is growing and evolving. We need to plant a path to grow wisely and keep the small town feel that we all value and want to continue to see. We need to continue to protect our environment as we face climate change, sea level rise, and environmental issues. We need to ensure public safety and basic city services. We need to work on our growing challenge of homelessness. As we confront our challenges, let's also remember that many good things are happening in this community. We have market rate housing downtown, which is creating vibrancy, jobs, needed tax revenues, and support for business owners and employees. We've done a lot of heavy lifting over the past few years with passage of the comprehensive plan, the shoreline management plan, as well as the strategic plan. They're all in place. Now we begin the exciting part, moving forward. I'm excited for this new chapter in Olympia, and I would like to continue being your voice of common sense on the council. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Renata.
Thank you, Elliot, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum. My name is Renata Rollins. I'm running for Olympia City Council Position 6, and I'm running because we're living in unusual times, nationally and locally. It's getting harder for most people to get by. We may feel it in different ways, but there is a common reality of uncertainty many of us face in our day-to-day life. In times of uncertainty, we can either succumb to our fears or embrace what's possible. And I'm running because, as a community organizer, as an advocate, as a housing and homeless services professional, and in my personal life from my upbringing, I hold on to what's possible. Olympia is the fastest growing city in Washington, with good reason, but it brings challenges. The only way we'll find practical and equitable solutions to our challenges of a rising population, rising housing costs, rising homelessness, rising temperatures, and rising shoreline is by rising together. And that will require leaders on our city council with connections, credibility, and accountability to people from all walks of life. Leaders who proactively engage the full spectrum of our communities through town halls or non-traditional means, and who especially work to reach those most impacted by a decision or challenge. Community outreach is my lifelong strength and my joy. I have a proven record as a bridge between the people and City Hall, and I would be honored to continue this work in a new way as your representative on City Council. Whether we're talking about ending the crisis of homelessness, ensuring public safety for the entire public, about improving transit choices, or restoring the watershed we depend on, the work before us is interconnected, just like all of us. I offer my values, knowledge, experience, and working relationships with people from all walks of life, so the unheard are welcome to the table as we rise to meet our challenges and move together toward what's possible.
Thank you all. Now we're going to move on to specific questions. I'm going to start with Renata. What can the City Council do to help support racial justice and equity issues in Olympia? You will have 2 minutes, and then the other candidates will have 1 minute, and then we will alternate.
Great. Thank you for the question. As a community organizer and as someone who's deeply invested in social, racial, and economic justice, this question really speaks to me. I think one of the first things we can do as council members, as representatives of the city, is being connected to the communities that are already doing the work. There are organizations like the Black Alliance of Thurston County, Surge, showing up for racial justice, work being done in specific communities at CLO and the Islamic Center of Olympia, who are addressing long-standing racial justice issues which have really boiled over in the current climate. I think that that placing the safety of those marginalized communities is paramount. And so one of the things that comes to mind is increasing the trust and the relationship between law enforcement community and other communities. And I think one thing that looks like and that other communities have done successfully is having a community oversight board, so that there's some building of relationship and accountability there. I think we could also look at police alternatives, because that trust isn't going to be built right away. In the downtown community, for example, we have the Downtown Ambassador Program, which is sort of an alternative program for the downtown community to call. So maybe a liaison with communities of color to be able to have a contact within the city to resolve issues as they come up.
Okay. Now, Jeannine, it's your turn.
Oh, thank you. So, what has the City Council done to support racial justice and social equity? I'd say that we have done a lot over the last couple of years. Our Police Chief, Ronnie Roberts, has worked tirelessly at getting groups together with our police officers, community groups, to really, I think, be a leader in the nation as to how we approach these issues. And unfortunately, we had an issue that arose in our community a year and a half ago that I believe Ronnie handled in a really, really fair and just manner. I also want to mention the Ambassador Program, which I brought forward from the City of Spokane several years, and it also is a link for increasing civil behavior in our community and just being kind to one another and being goodwill ambassadors to all of us.
Thank you. Michael?
I think it's a holistic solution to this issue because there's been a lot of focus on law enforcement, and that is a critical area where law enforcement can reach out to the marginalized groups and to various community groups to build some trust, to build some connections, and to interact and listen to the concerns of various groups. However, I think it's much more than just law enforcement. I think it has to do with the City Council reaching out and meeting with these groups, going to where they are, not having them come to the council chambers, having the council go to them, having the various departments set up specific meetings with these groups to listen to their concerns. To have, we talk about town halls, but how about town halls where they live and where they exist? And so I think it's not just the law enforcement, the City Council itself, the department heads, and all meeting and reaching out to these groups to form bonds and to better understand their concerns and help to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to start with Jeannine. What are your City of Olympia budget priorities for the next 4 years? Jeannine.
Budget priorities, great. I would say that our budget priorities are to cover the essential services in our City of Olympia, which would mean our streets, our infrastructure, our utilities. The budget has set, I should have brought a pie chart with me. We have dollars that go for set areas, and we have something called the Transportation Benefit District, and those dollars go specifically to our roads, which is great. It only goes to our roads. We have something new called the Metropolitan Park District, which voters approved overwhelmingly last year, and those dollars are specifically going towards parks now, which has been a great improvement for our green space and parks in general. And also, what's coming forward to the voters this fall is a tax measure to support our police force and public safety, and that will help us get more walking patrol downtown. We will have police on the east side and west side, like the beats on the cop in the old days, and so that would be another budget priority. And then coming up in February, the council just agreed that we will be putting a ballot measure related to housing, and that will be for low-income homeless people that will be able to get housing with the wraparound services, which means they won't just be put in an apartment and be expected to survive on their own. They will actually have services which will help them to live a healthy a healthy life. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael.
So, budget priorities, I agree with Jeannine. I've dealt with designated monies going to specific purposes in the school district level and at the state level. In this particular case, I completely 100% support both ballot initiatives. The community policing idea is an idea that the city went away from during budget times, and I support going back to that, providing downtown community policing. But in addition to the community policing, the reason why I'm really excited to see this initiative is that it has a mental health capacity. And police are well trained in many areas, but mental health may not be their priority. And to have that mental health component, I'm very excited to have those advocates down there reaching out to the people who have mental health issues. The housing initiative, the ballot initiative, I completely support also. And so I think in combination, they're funded, they have a funding source, and so there was no reason for the council to be going into the to the red on these particular issues because there is a funding source.
Thank you. Renata.
Last fall, one of the incumbent council members held a People's Budget Forum where we identified what would a budget look like that was truly based on our values. And a couple of the values that came out of that was equity and access, and that's how I would decide my priorities on the council. One of the obvious priorities to me is dealing with the affordable housing and homelessness crisis. We have only a 2% vacancy in housing in this area, which means prices are rising, people are falling into homelessness. So I would propose using the budget to promote safe, affordable housing, and also to promote safe and legal spaces like warming centers, day centers, 24-hour services for folks that are experiencing homelessness, as well as accessible mental health care so that someone who's in housing has access to supports and resources to prevent them falling out. Secondly, I would encourage the budget priorities to focus on transportation choices, which is good not only for climate change, but for those who don't want to spend money on a car.
Thank you. The next question is for Michael to go first. What actions should the City Council take regarding scoping, that would mean the range, of a climate action plan and how to implement that plan?
So it's been my experience that government at all levels tends to be reactionary. And in this case, we have an opportunity to be proactive. The evidence and the science is clear that climate change is impacting us, the rising sea level is occurring, and we still have the issue about Capitol Lake versus the estuary. And I think you can't isolate one in it by itself without addressing all of the issues relating to climate change. Specifically, I do support, after a lot of study, because I did not have a strong opinion, I do support the estuary option and returning it to its native flow. I do support mitigating factors in the rising sea level, such as some that were mentioned last year, such as a potential seawall, changing building construction codes to have them built at a higher level, changing stormwater runoff, and a variety of issues to address the rising sea level. And I would like to compliment the City of Olympia for its outstanding work in dealing with climate change as far as biodegradable fuel, as far as its goal to go to zero waste management within the next 2 years. But now we need to encourage private people and private business to do the same. And I believe incentives are the way to go there, tax incentives, building code incentives to build green, to purchase more renewable energy, to do a variety of things to encourage public transportation, to address the issue of climate change. I am proud of the City of Olympia for signing on to the International Mayor's Compact dealing with the climate change, and I'm very grateful for the City Council for doing so. So I think we need to address it in a holistic and comprehensive way and not try to focus on just one aspect of the issue.
Renata.
Well, I believe we need a process to bring in all of the communities, and especially the communities most impacted by climate change, and as far as who's going to pay for the mitigation and the adaptation efforts. The scope of a climate action plan needs to include both how to mitigate the effects of carbon dioxide rising and temperatures rising, as well as how to adapt to the effects that we're not going to be able to stave off. I think that means reaching out to neighborhood groups for sure, reaching out to the tribes, reaching out to the climate and environmental experts within our community. And it means talking about how we keep our green spaces so that we're able to deal with the CO2 that's already in the air. It means developing a transit plan that truly serves the area, which means serving the area as it grows by 20,000 people over 20 years. And it means adapting to our shoreline rising downtown, bringing in the stakeholders to decide how to do that and who pays.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to Jeannine.
Thank you. Well, we all are going to have similar answers, I'm afraid, on this one. I agree with both my opponents here, but I will say that I have to give kudos to the City of Olympia. We have already done some very far-reaching work in the climate action area. We are currently engaged with the port and the City of Olympia, as well as LOT, in terms of sea level rise, climate change. We're working hard at this and have many things already in action. I also wanted to add on that at a local level, adding the green space that we have received recently from our Metropolitan Parks District fund is a huge benefit to this community. We now purchased LBA Woods, which is all natural green space, which is going to help our environment. And I just got the stop sign. So anyway, and we are continuously working for zero waste at our city, and we're really striving to move forward.
Thank you all. This is the last question, and I'm going to start with Renata. How can the City Council work with the Evergreen State College to encourage free speech, but discourage demonstrations that result in property damage, injuries to participants, police officers, and the general public?
Big topic. I think it has to do with, like so many things, it has to do with bridging relationships. And it has to do with being willing to have an honest and open conversation about deeply experienced injustices on the part of the most marginalized communities, and finding a way to just be open, honestly, to just be open to hearing what's being said. Martin Luther King has a famous quote, which is that a riot is the language of the unheard. And I think that's as true in this climate today as it was in the 1960s. And the more venues that people have to express what's going on in a real way that's authentic to their experience, the more understanding we're going to have. The events at Evergreen over the last month or so, obviously I think were really taken out of context nationally by people that, for example, don't know the history of Day of Presence, Day of Absence on the campus. And what really should be an evergreen conversation ended up being expanded nationwide on cable television and brought people with violent intentions to the campus. That's not right, and we need to stand up for student speech, even if it falls outside of the realm of what maybe is considered polite. We need to hear people that have been deeply hurt. So yes, it really comes down to relationship, and that's part of why I'm excited to run for the council. Is I have connections and working relationships with people across the spectrum, people from all walks of life, who need a voice as well.
Thank you. Jeannine, you're next.
Could you repeat the question?
Certainly. How can the City Council work with the Evergreen State College to encourage free speech, but discourage demonstrations that result in property damage, injuries to participants, police officers, and the general public?
That is a tough one. We have been dealing with some protests and disruptions at our city council meetings over the past year, and it's really an unfortunate way to try to get your words across and communicate with your elected officials. There is a better way to get your voice heard. Violence, breaking windows, yelling obscenities is not a constructive way to have a civil conversation with folks at any level. And so I encourage those who want to become more involved at the city level to come ask to meet with us, have some civil dialogue. I think unfortunately the level of anger at the national level is reaching all of us, and it's really made people much more aggressive in our community, and I'm sad about that, but I do encourage folks, particularly our evergreen students, to reach out to us and communicate in a positive manner.
Thank you. Michael.
So I have two extremes on this issue. Having taught the various movements throughout United States history, I am a huge supporter of the First Amendment. Protest, nonviolent civil disobedience, and a host of other activities in speech I am firmly in support of. And I support all people, not just the Evergreen State students, but all individuals with the right to do it. In fact, years ago, when I was working on a campaign against an opponent, a friend said we should take down that sign, and I said, if you did, I'm going to turn you in, because that's a sign of free speech, okay? And so it doesn't have to be necessarily civil, it might not even be polite, you have the right to do it. Having said that, on the other extreme, the moment you go into the arena of violence, I oppose it. I do not believe that violence and destruction is part of free speech, and it should be treated as it is, criminality. Okay, there is no excuse for it under any circumstances. And so in that case, I fully support law enforcement's right to fully implement the law to its fullest extent, because you're denying other people the right to their free speech.
Thank you. Now we'll go to closing statements, and I'm going to start with Jeannine. 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So in closing, I just want to say, in these turbulent political times, we need to have experienced leadership to move us forward. There is tremendous value in having broad knowledge about city programs, issues, and policies. I am proud of the work I've accomplished over the past 8 years. The creation of the Metropolitan Park District and purchase of the LBA Woods, and preserving green space for our community. Creating the Ambassador Program, which provides outreach for homeless, as well as reaching out to our visitors and making them feel welcome in our community. Representing people from all walks of life, being a fair voice, and truly listening. I have built strong relationships over the years with local leaders, business people, and elected officials. I'm optimistic about the future of Olympia, and I'm eager to continue the work that I have begun. Thank you for your continued support. I am truly honored to serve as your member of Olympia City Council. And again, I am Jeannine Roe. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll close with Renata. 1 minute.
Okay. Years ago, when I was one of the downtown ambassadors, I came to know a man who spent a lot of time downtown. He was homeless. And we would talk about community issues and problems that came up. And he used to say, I don't get it. What's with all the disagreement? We're all under the same roof. And he was looking up at the sky. That's an ethic that I really live by and I believe in. And I like to imagine what Olympia would be like if we truly held on to this ethic. I don't think that what's going on in DC is helping us live that way. And so it's imperative that as local leaders, it's our #1 priority. In this campaign, I've received sole endorsements from Thurston Environmental Voters, the State Workers Union, which is WFC 443, and the Thurston Lewis Mason Central Labor Council, as well as from Port Commissioner E.J. Zita, Representative Lori Dolan, Daryl Rodriguez, Kyle Taylor Lucas, several downtown business owners, and many of your friends and neighbors. You can go to renataforcouncil.com to get involved and learn more. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for...
Do I get a statement?
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're the last one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. League of Women Voters, thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. I would like to say, if the status quo is you're comfortable with, then I would not be your candidate. I think at the national level, where things seem to be frozen, at the state level, where the government is going into its third special session, and even at the local level, where a lot of good things have been done, but I would ask, is the downtown and is the Olympia area where we want it to be? And I think at all three levels, there's a frustration by a lack of change and a lack of action. And what I bring to this race is that we agree on many issues, and we have very diverse backgrounds. But the one thing I will say is that I will be a force for action. I will not support any more studies on the homeless issue. I will support action on the homeless issue. I will not support any more studies on a variety of issues. I will support action. And so if you want an agent of change and an agent of action, that would be me. And I really would thank you for your support. And my name is Michael Snodgrass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for participating in the League of Women Voters Primary Election Forum for Olympia City Council Position 6. We encourage viewers to vote in the primary election August 1st, 2017. The League particularly thanks TCM for their ongoing support and assistance.